Welcome to The Finisher, a podcast about professional wrestling and all things, well, wrestling. Here are your hosts, Jerry Pickering and Dan Nawrocki.
Hey, we're live once again. Gotta fade that out better. Once again, welcome back to The Finisher, a podcast about professional wrestling and everything that's going on to this wonderful world. I mean, it's a great time for professional wrestling. You know, having Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then now having AEW.
You know, you would think that, and then we were just talking about this right before we got on the air when I was making up our show sheet last night. I'm looking at going, so what actually is the big story this week? Because it really, comparative to the last month or so in the business, it's kind of been a week.
I mean, ratings are up and they're amazing, and but what do you think? We haven't heard any more of the speaking out thing.
No,
that's of settled a little bit.
It seems like that's calmed down and now, as organizations are kind of dealing with it and putting
internally.
Dealing with internally and putting things in place to ensure, hopefully, that sort of shit does not happen again.
No,
we don't go through a whole nother like this, and hopefully removing the toxic people from the business. And it sounds like a good number of people have been removed for being just that. So
let's see.
There is no way to transition out of that. Sorry.
There is no way. No,
because it started out as being just sarcasm about how great everything was, and then you turn around and look at the current state of the business as we are about 24 hours, just a little bit more than 24 hours away from another pay-per-view, which, by the way, since we didn't mention it before, I assume that this is going to be something that we will be speaking about live tomorrow evening.
We will be live right here on Facebook while we do live reacting to the horror show Extreme Rules.
Yes, we finally. How many weeks did it take us to get this right? How many weeks did it take them to get it right to finally figure out what the hell they were going to call this thing?
I'm guessing, I don't know why they're calling it the horror show. I'm guessing because there's a swamp match and there's a eye for an eye match. I don't really get the reason. And Nikki Cross got a women's title match. I mean,
hey. Problem with Nikki Cross.
Nothing. I like Nikki Cross.
I was gonna say, it's interesting. Well, we can get into it a little bit more, but a little bit later. But when we do our picks here at the end of the show, but I want to point out that really, they have gimmicked up this show like no other, and when you do something like that, and stop me, because I'll explain when we start doing our picks later, but I'm not against doing a gimmicked up show once a year.
I understand that.
If this becomes the norm, then we have a problem.
True. Yes. I mean, the point of having, the whole eye for an eye match is just...
I have nothing more to say
stupid
about this eye for an eye match. If you really want to know my true feelings on this one, head over to any of the various places where you can get this podcast. Check out last week's show, probably about 20 minutes or so in. It's the reason that I had to mark last week's episode explicit, because, I mean, I could not control myself anymore. And but if you aren't already on any of those podcasting outlets, the easiest way to do that is to go up to thefinisherpodcast.com, and which should be about right there. Just check that thing out there. There's a page right up there that says, was it contact, where to hear us,
where to find us.
It's got absolutely everything. So you'll find a link to our Facebook page, which if you're watching this, you haven't figured out what the hell's going on. You'll find our Twitter. You'll find every place to get us, including the worldwide free iHeartRadio app. We are finally good to go on there.
We made it. We're big time.
We are finally big time. We can be found around the world, anywhere. Just go ahead and hit follow. Is it follow or subscribe? There are so many. Everyone's got
something different.
Hit follow or subscribe. Either way, you'll know the minute that we get a brand new show up. Your pocket will buzz, and you'll get a little bit of tickle. And that's basically what we like to do to make sure that we provide your own tickle for the day.
That's just Dan's beard.
Yeah, see, it's coming back a little bit. I had trimmed it from I probably should. It's starting to get a little. It's starting to get a little unruly. I should probably cut it back a little bit.
I'll have to go through each app and see what it says to subscribe, follow, whatever. But anything you can do to join us, do it. We'll be here every week, every Saturday around 1 to 2 o'clock. And we have our wonderful podcast that we're going to start right now, starting off talking about WWE already changing matches for SummerSlam.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of interesting this story's coming out now. So within about a month or so out from SummerSlam,
Yeah.
and you figure they wouldn't have this planned, this idea in the back of their head a couple of months ago when the whole pandemic thing started, and it looked very unlikely that they were going to be doing pay-per-views with fans anytime soon. But apparently, this was supposed to SummerSlam was supposed to be the big lead-in for a Drew McIntyre Brock Lesnar rematch for the title, and obviously that's not going to happen. They're not going to bring Brock back unless they can bring him back in front of fans, and it makes all the sense in the world, actually. I completely agree with them on this one. There's no point in bringing him back and wasting his pop at the PC. So he may not be back to at least the Royal Rumble now.
And I don't even... Who knows when we're actually going to have fans? I mean, I saw an article that says don't expect concerts until 2022.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know. Well, now there's so much involved. It's the one news story, if you want to boil it down to that has encompassed so many things in our life over the last 6 months or so, that it's kind of one of those. We'll get shows back when we can get an effective vaccine, or essentially an effective coronavirus shot, because I've also seen research that may be going forward like the flu shot. Like, you need something to cover the influenza and then something to cover the coronavirus, because it may not necessarily, it may not be the same strain of coronavirus every winter that comes through. So you may need a shot just like you do for the flu.
Yep.
It's hard to conceptualize this one thing that has and will completely change society going forward.
True. It's
that's
nuts. It's going to be nuts, and it's not going to end anytime soon. And it's why I'm like, who knows if we'll even have live wrestling shows.
I can honestly see house shows going away. Like, WWE were already kind of working in that way, where they really weren't they were looking at cutting back the house show schedule.
Yeah.
And I could absolutely see them, like AEW had been running, where they're in arenas for television and for big events, but they're not running a weekend swing through Quad Cities, Des Moines, and Rockford in front of a couple. I mean, they might. NXT might be that live tour might continue, but that might be it for that company.
Yeah, I don't see it happening much more. But yeah, so they're making the changes they're making for SummerSlam, because they're not going to get Brock. Brock's not going to come.
No, but I agree. I wouldn't even, like I said, I think they're right in that. Don't bring him back unless you can have that crowd reaction. So I would estimate at the earliest Survivor Series before we see Brock again.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that very, very much so. So you were talking earlier. You mentioned something about an unsanctioned match that's happening.
Yeah, that's something they signed for this coming Monday night on Raw. An unsanctioned match between Randy Orton and The Big Show. And it's something that we thought was going to end up on the Extreme Rules card because of the way it was being built. And it sounds like, from the way we're reporting inside the company, is that they had decided to hold that one off for Raw because of how utterly atrocious that ratings have been with the Monday Night flagship recently. I mean, this past Monday hit an all-time ratings low, And when you say all time, you have to remember this show has been on the air for 17 years. More people were watching Doink the Clown and Damien Demento in 1993 than watched Raw 5 days ago.
And it was funny. I watched it, and it was an interview with CM Punk. It was a little while ago, and it was still the same thing. The ratings were awful, and he was talking about how, when he was there, the ratings were a 3.9, and he was getting his ass chewed out because they were so bad. He said they would flip their shit right now for a 3.9.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Like, just trying to see if I so dig through the numbers. If it the first hour, let's see. First hour was almost 1.7 million. Second hour on 1.6. Final hour 1.5. That might be part of it too. Is trying to do 3 hours.
They should with the way things are right now, with not even having a live crowd in there. 3 hours is a long show to fill.
Cut it back to between that and realizing and remembering you've put the entire creative team in one. So now the entire team is focusing on both shows. So you have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, an hour of main event, an hour of 205 Live, and presumably at least an hour of NXT. So now instead of having those split up into two creative teams, you have it all in one house under one executive producer who's responsible for 6 or 7 hours of television every single week, with the limitations of having to work, under the no crowd rules. It's insane. At this point, Bruce Pritchard ain't going to survive this. The end of this year, he's going to have a stress-related heart attack.
Man's gonna have a freaking stroke. But I don't know if this isn't on the sheet or anything, but I don't know if we talked about it or not. But the reason now that everyone in the crowd is wearing a face mask, do we know who's responsible for that?
Yeah, which is awesome, honestly. Great to hear it. One KO finally went up to the boss and said, "Hey, I ain't showing up, and this is why." And we really should not look. A lot more people have this concern. They just don't want to come up to you and say it, but we're not comfortable working, and this is going to keep going. So it's the very least you can do is have the audience in masks. And since they make all these different kind of branded masks, it'd be so easy to just hand out all the company branded masks to all the NXT trainees. And then every once in a while, Michael Cole can point over to somebody and say, "That's a really cool mask. You can find them at WWEshop.com."
I wanted to buy the Kane or the Fiend one, but I thought if I walked around wearing the Fiend mask, I'd get some weird looks.
I would say I thought about that because of that, although I really do. If I could find it, and if somebody has done this, I want to know because I'd love to have it. It's very old school and it's very esoteric, but with it, I'd like to see if I can find a neck gaiter, because in the process of this whole mask thing, I found out that it's really hard. Like most of the masks, just barely that are commercially available, just barely get to the chin, and I get that the beard kind of holds it off and away from your chin. That's fine, I get that, but they're just barely wide enough to cover the nose. And I'm like, it's a hell of a time to pandemic to find out. Apparently, I've got a pretty big damn head.
I mean, I could have told you that.
Nobody said anything. We got to 36 years before anybody said, "Hey, your head is freaking massive."
What are you looking for?
What I'm looking for is one of those neck gaiters. So I just pull it up, and it's it's got it's like the ski mask thing.
Home Depot.
But if you can do that with the old glacier print, the blue with the semi Sub-Zero kind of thing going.
What? You want a Sub-Zero face mask?
I want a glacier face mask if I could find that. But
I made a note.
I haven't seen anything. This is why I was confused at first. Yeah, that would be amazing if I could make that happen. I would laugh my ass off.
I made a note to look for you. Okay. So, did you watch any of AEW this week?
I did finally get a chance to catch up after the fact for most of what was going on. So all around a pretty decent show.
Moxley retaining.
I
was surprised to actually see him there.
Which is, I mean, that's good. It also means that A, he didn't get infected, and B, Renee Young is recovering.
Well,
and we would have heard if she had any major issues.
Yeah. So why the hell did Taz throw the towel in? Do we know?
He has gone on to explain, at least on Twitter, that he did what he did in the best interest of his investment, seeing that he knew Cage wasn't going to tap, and he knew Moxley wasn't going to let him out of there, and he seemed locked in that arm hold that he threw in the towel to get him out. And they're already teasing how pissed Cage was at Taz, and that we could have a possible split coming up.
Yeah, Brian Cage tweeting, "It's been a rough couple days, and official Taz and I have gone back and forth. I've considered relieving him of his duties and wanted to immediately after the match. I'll wait to see how I feel after the weekend." And that was yesterday. He tweeted that.
It's an interesting way to go with it. I don't know, because this relationship is less than a month old, and it's also been gold from a promo standpoint. And Brian Cage proved what everybody knew who were lucky enough to catch him in either Lucha Underground or Impact before, that big man can work. So they have a very good thing going.
He's a beast.
Seriously. They have a great thing going with him, and Taz, as like I said, Taz is on his promo game. Like, he's just hasn't. I mean, he is completely right. It's just one of those, like, he just jumped several levels, and then still goes back and forth on commentary, which is just awesome. Between him and Jericho every week at some point at the commentary table, it's been gold. Like, it really has. It makes you forget that the other side's commentary table are basically jokes.
Even Jericho, even on Twitter, is cracking some jokes.
Jericho's got some words, and go ahead.
I'll read it. Regarding the ratings, cool they won the overall viewers, but advertisers and the network don't really care. All that matters is we crushed it in the demo. 0.29 to 0.14. Like, and he tags AEW and WWE in it. Sorry, wouldn't scroll.
He's not necessarily wrong. He's especially that's what they're looking for. I just find it funny that it's becoming part of his on-screen persona, because in that promo, which, by the way, if you haven't seen the Inner Circle promo from Wednesday night, Orange Cassidy picking up his revenge somewhat.
Now, was that him dropping orange juice on him?
That was him dropping orange juice
now,
from the ceiling.
That just reminds me of stuff that WWE did years ago. But
right. I mean, it is. Yes, it's
gonna happen.
The characters involved are what makes it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And at the same time, this earlier in the promo when he dubbed himself the Demo God after espousing everything on television that he just said on Twitter, and that's where I'm kind of like, okay, remember all those Twitter Stanford stands I got pissed at last week?
Yeah.
Kind of. See, you get to this, and because it's Jericho, it's still entertaining, but I'm kind of on their side here, because that is a little bit inside baseball to make a public part. And granted, again, anybody else but Jericho doing it would be met with immediate derision. Exactly. Like, no one else in that company could pull it off. Nobody.
No one's gonna go after Jericho for it.
Well, there's that too. Like, what's WWE gonna go after him for? Like, but they themselves are not immune to these little snipes. But I enjoy that. Like, that's part of the idea of having two companies compete. Like, yeah, so they're going to go all out and present their product, and if they snipe at each other, great. That's not necessarily just a... What was it you were telling me? The whoever sang Dusty Rhodes music last week in that god-awful karaoke segment.
Naomi.
Yes, was a dig at Cody.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, she went back and apologized for being part of that segment after catching heat on Twitter. There were people, going, yeah, this was horrible. Like, people going, y'all should have wrestled. You guys are too talented to be wasting your time like that. And she's, in her Instagram replies going, I agree.
That was just a step backwards for the women's evolution.
Yeah, they have Women's Evolution Week this week where they're touting all this stuff on social media and the best of Charlotte and the best of all this stuff, the Women's Evolution, and then they lead in with this garbage segment where they take 4 talented women's wrestlers and make them sing karaoke on network television.
I mean, they can keep Charlotte out. I mean, I don't care about that.
Charlotte and Brock have, as I was going to say, have a very similar thing, is that they were everywhere and everything for so long that they both need to go away. Like, they need to disappear for six months to a year. And that's not because it's not like the same go away heat that we had with Baron Corbin forever. Like, I don't want to see your character anymore. It's, you need a rest. You need to go away.
You know what?
You need a rest.
Right, okay.
The hell did you think I said?
I don't know. I think you gargled up a little bit there.
Impossible. You need to rest. Go away. You can come back, be refreshed, have a new twist put on your character, and then we can all, fall back in love with the reason we wanted to see you in the first place. They both need to do that. And, I mean, it's conflicting reports. Charlotte is coming back in a year, will come back in January, maybe never come back, maybe done with the business, maybe following Becky Lynch out the door. Who knows? That's a whole other thing, and that's all a personal matter when she wants to come back. Because
I thought she was having surgery.
I thought that was the original thing, is that she had been putting off surgery and was finally at a point where, like, I can't keep going, guys. I got to get this done. And then it'll be her recovery that decides when she comes back. I don't know. But again, because there have been a multitude of reports across all the dirt sheets and all the social media sites that who knows for sure.
Whoops. I wasn't sure. That's all I heard was she was having surgery, but I'm okay with her not being around. I'm tired of her always in something. And
yeah, like I said, how can I miss you if you don't go away?
Exactly. Come back and we'll see what happens. But other than that.
Before I try to figure out where do I want to go first next year, but since we're wrapping up some things we talked about AEW, there was an official AEW debut on Wednesday night as well.
Oh yeah,
there was, in fact, and it's been worked into. Of course, it's been worked into her theme music. So apparently, week by week, once again, we'll be hearing "Excuse me."
I saw that.
Vicky Guerrero making her official debut, now managing the Native Beast, Nyla Rose.
I saw her coming out. I was like, why in the hell is Vicky Guerrero on the Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure, but I guess you give it a chance. It's unfortunate whether even it works out and they're a good fit working together. It's unfortunate because it does kind of read sort of like TNA in 2005, where they'll sign anything that and anyone who used to work in Stamford.
Yeah, it does. I see that.
And speaking of TNA, they're apparently doing their biggest pay-per-view of the year this weekend.
Really? I didn't know they're still in business. I mean, they just got 2 new superstars or
right,
2 new wrestlers.
That's the big thing. Slammiversary is apparently either tonight or tomorrow. I don't know, nor many others don't as well. Interestingly enough, though, before we get into that, in the main event, in a 4-way for the vacant Impact World Heavyweight Championship, one Toledo native, Trey Miguel.
Really?
Yes. Trey in there with Trey, Ace Austin. I forget who the other 2 guys are, because apparently their main event scene is that all-encompassing. I'm sure EC3 will make some sort of an appearance. In fact, that card is tonight. Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, Trey, and TBD. So there's EC3. And more than likely, the debut that you alluded to,
of the Good Brothers.
Of the Good Brothers, who made it official on YouTube this morning. They will likely face the other 2 members of the Rascals, Zach Wentz and Desmond Xavier, because they have a TBD on their match as well. So It's as I said, I'm kind of disappointed that that's the route they wanted to go because I would like to actually see them wrestle. And God only knows if we'll ever be able to see Impact. So if I want to see those guys work again, eventually I'll have to just bite the bullet and sign up for an NJPW World account.
I'm not doing that. It's not worth it for me.
Fair enough. New Japan's been doing some interesting things as well. So the last couple of weeks they've gotten back to touring and doing shows with very, very minimal crowds, like putting 100 people in a 5,000 seat building kind of thing.
Oh wow!
So
I do like on our little rundown sheet. Dan's like, Summerversary is happening. I have to think, or I'd have a link, but my browser wouldn't open it. Nothing wants to open TNA. I mean, nothing wants it. So
okay, it turns out, as I have found out, that last night or at some point yesterday afternoon, a major DDoS attack was going on, and one of the cloud servers that hosts something between 10 and 20% of American-based IPs had gone down under part of this attack. Really? So most likely that's what was going on. But the funny thing is, it didn't matter. Like, I was trying multiple sites to get any kind of news on Impact, and none of them would open. So I took it as a sign.
Oh, that's a good sign. I can agree with it.
I mean,
I'm okay with that. No one wants to watch TNA. Sorry for our Toledo boy, but no one wants to watch TNA.
Which, again, is the unfortunate thing, that there may be some good stuff going on. You just don't know.
It's not on any channel that I can even get.
Apparently, the weekly show is on Access, the former HDNet, Mark Cuban's network, and I vaguely remember having that when once upon a time I had DirecTV, but it was way up there in their sports package. And I guess that you can still catch the show either live or on delay on their Twitch channel, excuse me.
Oh, on Twitch.
They would occasionally also stream other events. So I guess that's a route. And part of me kind of wants to at least check out that main event match to see, if we get a local boy done good, but most likely it's going to be EC3 sweeping in there. It's going to be EC3 and Eddie Edwards going one-on-one, and that'll be about it.
Well, we'll have to see if we can find it on Twitch. We're on Twitch. You can find us when we do some streaming gaming, either us together or solo.
So sometimes you got some stuff on the PC and you go for that. However, I'm ready for you. I actually this week I ordered one of those rechargeable battery packs you were talking about, and they came today, so I've got them plugged in, ready to go.
Do you want the ones that you can set a controller on the thing?
No, they're just there's no point in showing you, but it's just the little rechargeable battery pack.
Okay.
I don't know why I decided to do 2-day shipping on that, basically because I could. So it's here for whenever. So whenever we use it.
Off subject. I love Amazon. I needed something, and so I ordered it, and I got it like the next afternoon. I was like, it works.
Right. Well, and there was something else. I needed another piece of equipment, and thankfully the game got canceled for tomorrow, so it didn't show up today, and I don't need it for tomorrow. So I can wait until we play again on Tuesday, and hopefully I'll have a brand new gear there for then. Nice.
So do we want to start with our top 5?
Yeah, let's move the top 5, get that done, and then we'll wrap up the show, do our predictions, and all that fun stuff. Because when we finally get down to making predictions, it's always such good shit. This is such good shit.
Yes,
I tried.
Yes, it is.
I tried. I got to find a better signal.
Yeah, we need a signal for that.
And
all right, let's get into our top 5. All right, top 5 this week.
Brought in by George Thorogood and oh my God, why did I just blank on his band?
I don't know what it is. This is just some free music.
Anyway.
So top 5 this week. Top 5 ECW champions.
Yes.
We kind of put a little caveat on it. Original ECW champions.
Yes. There's no point in talking about WWE ECW because that everyone, including people in the company, admit how much of a failure that was and how much that didn't go over well.
Yeah, not good.
Because everybody who was actually a fan back in the day, I mean, when you say you bring back ECW in the very first segment of your very first episode of ECW, it's a goddamn zombie walking out and getting on the microphone to moan, only to be caned mercilessly by the Sandman. And that's where you started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, you do know.
This is such good shit.
If there's anything positive, it's that it pre-programmed us to accept a third brand so that NXT could happen following the run of ECW on Sci-Fi,
yes.
Sci-Fi.
Wrestling on the Sci-Fi channel.
Anyway.
All right. Our top five, like I said, top five this week, ECW Champions. All right, Dan, you want to start off? What's your number five? Number five on your top five ECW Champions.
We have actually been talking a little bit about my number five guy because it is Taz. Built up to be a monster despite his size, and no one ever mentioned that until he got to the WWE. No one mentioned him being like 5'9". The human suplex machine had a long rise to the title that included that long feud with Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
And he was eventually kind of overbooked as a dominant champion. It was in place when ECW finally made it onto national television, and even made some history later on in 2000 after leaving for the WWF to come back and take the title off of Mike Awesome, who had recently left for WCW. So for those keeping score, that was a WWE contracted wrestler beating a WCW contracted wrestler for the ECW World Championship.
All right.
And he almost beat, but he faced Triple H on SmackDown for, I believe, the only time the WWE champion faced off with the ECW World Champion.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right.
Useless trivia right here.
It's all you, baby.
That's what I do.
So your number five is Taz.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number five is the human suplex machine, Taz.
I was worried about this possibility. You're kind of looking at the list, going, "Man, there's only like a number of guys that might actually qualify for this list." So we might be having.
It'd be funny if we had all five, but they may be in different order.
I'd be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised, but the order would throw me off. So yeah, anything you want to add to Taz there?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I don't know why, but I always loved his entrance. The towel over the head, the music, the smoke.
Team Taz leading about when he was doing because remember that mid thing, especially when they started doing the first invasion angle with WWF, where he was the Ultimate Fighter and had all these guys leading him to the ring.
Yep.
And Bill Alfonso as his manager.
So that's both of our number fives.
This might be a very easy one. This is going to be a short episode. We're just going to blow right through this.
It could be. Dan, who's your number four? Number four, best ECW champion.
My number four goes way back to the early years of ECW and a guy that helped define those early years of ECW, and it is the Sandman. Even if his times with the belt really weren't the most memorable, he actually has the most reigns in the history of the belt with 5. Yes. But some of them were more memorable. Some were more with the more memorable moments in the early days, like his back and forth title wins with the Ultimate Underdog and Mikey Whipwreck back in '95. So while Sandman is absolutely on the Mount Rushmore in the land of the extreme, and you can't ignore that he has 5 title reigns.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as strong a case as maybe some of the other guys here, but you can't ignore his early contributions to making that belt something.
All right. That's your number 4?
That's my number 4.
All right. My number 4, grab me a beer, hand me a kendo stick. My number 4 is a Sandman. Dude.
Wow, this is getting eerie, huh?
Not lying either.
Were you? I believe you. I'm not. I don't.
I was
don't
trying
doubt
so
this.
hard. I was smiling, but I know I was trying not to hard to give it out. That I had the same exact one for number 4 again. So this could be a really quick one. Oh.
Maybe. I think I'd be willing to bet we might have the same. Maybe have the same to the top 2. My number 3 is going to be the one that I'm interested to see whether or not we actually still have that.
All right. So your number 3. Go ahead.
My number 3 is the legendary, middle-aged and crazy Terry Funk, who has a place on this list for 2 reasons, really. First and foremost, that insane barbed wire match in '97 where he lost the belt to Sabu, ending his second reign. And second, the fact that Funk's time as champion helped lend especially his first reign, helped lend the company legitimacy it needed on the national scene when it had just been reborn with Paul Heyman taking over. Funk not only made the belt something by holding it, but he also helped make a number of that company's stars at the time. Sabu got the Terry Funk rub. The franchise got the Terry Funk rub. Tommy Dreamer really got the Terry Funk rub, and that's all because Funk was willing to make guys as he allegedly wound down his legendary career.
Dude was nuts. He was nuts. That's all I can really say for him. The dude was nuts.
Pretty sure Terry's still nuts.
Probably still is. Probably still is. My number 3. No, I'm kidding. Rhino.
Hey, it was somebody different.
Rhino. The gore machine Rhino. Local boy, basically. From where we are, we're in Toledo. He's just literally 20 minutes right up north into Monroe, running for a political office, I guess, up there, which is kind of fun to see, him running for office. But I was,
it's the new trend for retired pro wrestlers to
I guess,
make their way into politics.
Follow suit with Kane, But Rhino always was a beast, and I always liked watching him. So my number 3 is Rhino.
I'd also like to point this out to Kane as well, just to throw this out here. The irony here is that he's obviously not the first wrestler to become politician, but when the great Sasuke became a member of the Japanese Diet back in the mid-'90s, he kept his mask on.
Especially right now, put your damn mask on. Sorry.
You made a living with a fucking mask. Wear it. Sorry.
All right, Dan.
Sorry.
Who's your number 2?
Number 2. Quote my number 2, Nevermore. The top 2 entries on this list seemed to be a part of the title picture for years, no matter what was coming at them. And Raven personified ECW for a number of years, was always at the top of the card, and engaged in some of the most intense and infamous feuds in company's history. Raven versus Dreamer, Raven versus Sandman. Those were those lines on top of the card, guarantees of mayhem. And, let's not forget that he almost drove Kurt Angle out of professional wrestling before he ever got going. One could also argue that Raven was the best talker that ECW ever produced. I know for one that his promos blew my teenage mind when I first stumbled across hardcore TV, and that's a story that we had talked about a couple of weeks ago. We did another ECW theme list, but yeah, no, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And that's also one of those, a guy that had the belt multiple times, and it just always felt like he was either champion or in a championship match while he was there.
Rhino or Raven, I like them too. That's your number 2.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2. Once again, I don't really have to say anything because you basically said everything about Terry Funk.
Mm-hmm.
So Terry Funk is my number 2. Crazy ass motherfucker. Basically, should just be that's his middle name. Actually, it's Terry Craziest Motherfucker Funk. So, all right, Dan. You have any honorable mentions?
I didn't write any down, but I figured you probably could include Sabu, just as being one of those guys at the beginning. But just like Sandman, I guess you don't necessarily think of him as a champion as much as you think of all the other stuff that he was doing at the time. Like in that time, you think more of the battles he had with Cactus Jack than the fact that he had the belt, or that he was in that barbed wire match with Terry Funk. then he won the world title in that match with Terry Funk.
Exactly.
So if there's an honorable mention I would have missed, it would have been him.
Right.
However, number one.
Who's your number one?
My number one might be the guy that could take exception to Raven being called the best talker in the history of the ECW. My number one entry, the definitive heel for most of ECW's run, the captain of the football team, who was never without the head cheerleader, the franchise, Shane Douglas. You want to talk about a guy who got it done in the ring and could cut the most blistering promo, who walked, talked, had the attitude of a champion, led the triple threat, declared the Eastern Championship Wrestling title, the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, after throwing the NWA World Heavyweight Championship to the ground. Quite possibly the one man in ECW with the biggest balls in the history of the company, no pun intended, Shane Douglas. Forget he was ever in ECW. Let's just don't even say anything about that or the Revolution. Just fuck that right off.
All right.
We go ahead and write Shane Douglas down on the list for you here. No, I'm kidding.
No. My number one was on your honorable mention, Sabu.
Okay.
Good old Sabu. Dude, some of the stuff that he would do, some of the flying moves, oh my gosh. I mean, you go way into depth and you basically just did a fucking promo.
Kind of.
There was no. Back the kind of truck up here. You did. That was a promo. Like, you're fucking Shane Douglas's manager. You were sitting there promoing for the guy.
Look, I know you may be semi-retired, Shane, but if you need somebody, not like you need anybody to talk for you, believe me. But I'm available most weekends.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah,
need to carry your bags, let me know.
Need to carry your bags. So we had what? 3 out of the 5?
Yeah, this is really, like I said, I kind of expected some crossovers because we're kind of a smaller pool than we normally do. But the fact that 5 and 4 were identical are hilarious. That also helps me a little bit because I need to find significantly fewer YouTube videos when I post this to the website a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. And again, just remembering all these things and some of the stuff, like, and you won't believe me, that little bit for Shane Douglas, I had nothing written down for that. I have when I do my top 5s, I come up with my things and then write a blurb that I can go on and I can expound upon as I think of things. I didn't get a chance to write anything for Shane, so I had that one off the cuff. So you say cut a promo, it's because I had to say something.
You are a blurb.
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's. Oops. There we go. Okay, I got to draw a top 5. Sorry.
Don't delete me yet. Hang on.
I didn't mean to hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
I need my sticky notes so I can put my sticky note up.
All right. What do we got here? See if this is going to be any better or worse than this week. I should probably one of these times I should probably dig all these out, see what actually is there to come up with, and maybe think of replacing some of the more esoteric ones. But this week, this should be fun.
Okay.
We have already laid out our worst on this list, but next week we will go through our 5 best entrance themes. I can't think of which episode. It might have been episode 3 or 4 on this season, which we did our worst themes. So it'll be fun to see what we think was best, and that's going to be involving. That means we get to listen to a lot of music this week, which is always fun. Always fun. I already have to listen to a lot of music this week to begin with for my other podcast, available at fairlykickass.com if you're interested in music.
Boom.
Check us out Thursday night. Sorry.
And that was Dan's cheap
plug of the day.
Thanks, Mick. All right, let's get into our predictions for WWE's horror show at Extreme Rules. So far, the card physical card only has 7 matches, but a couple weeks ago we talked about one that they don't even have listed.
Yeah, which is weird. It's not listed anywhere, so we're just gonna kind of go off the fact that it is happening. I'm assuming that this match will make the main card, and the U.S. title match will be kicked to the pre-show. Although there has been no official announcement on that one. So first and foremost, let us talk about the bar fight between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Now that is expected to be another cinematic match.
That's the one that's not listed.
That's the one that's not listed. So I'm assuming that's be one of those where they found a bar and that'll let them just mess the place up like crazy, and that will be whatever it is. And like you said, one of the longer matches, probably at least 10-15 minutes, being a cinematic style. So assuming this happens, who you got?
I'm gonna go with Hardy.
I think I'm also going to go with Jeff Hardy, mostly because Sheamus won back at
yeah, he won back at the other pay-per-view. It's begun such a weird little thing between them, with pissing into a cup and throwing it in Sheamus's face.
Yeah, and it seems like it's kind of started, like the last 2 weeks has been next to no time on SmackDown. It's sort of run out of steam. I don't know if they're going to try to stretch it to SummerSlam, but if not, this is waiting to Hardy to win and get out of it.
Exactly.
Because of the negative attention that's also received in the wrestling media and from his brother.
U.S. Championship, Apollo Crews, who is the current U.S. champion, versus MVP, who a couple weeks ago unveiled a new United States Championship belt. That's already for sale, and I've already seen people buying it and posting videos on YouTube of them opening their package. I wouldn't pay for that.
No, I mean, it's not, as we talked about before, it's not a bad design.
It's not bad. It's not great.
It's pretty meh, actually. It's right in the middle there. But
who you got here?
Man, I have a hard time. As much sense it would honestly make.
Keep it up. That Apollo, I guess, was injured. A couple weeks ago.
All the more reason to pick Apollo Crews, to retain here. Like I said, as it would make, it would kind of make sense if they were going to push MVP, but that only means that's only if, in my brain at least, it's only if Lashley's coming back and taking the strap off of McIntyre at SummerSlam, so you have the Universal Champion and the United States Champion rolling together in that stable.
Yes. I agree with you 100%. I'm sticking with Apollo Crews to retain the U.S. title and hopefully not take the new one that they made. Okay. All right, let's move on. This one, odd. Completely odd and dumb in my mind match. An eye for an eye with Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, and I'm pretty sure Dominic will be in Rey's corner.
I'm sure of it.
So right now, Rey Mysterio only has one eye. Which, little side note on this. Instagram has filters and stuff on it now, if you ever use Instagram. And one of them that WWE was promoting was the Rey Mysterio filter. So it would put a mask on your face. A Rey Mysterio mask. And there is a video of Seth Rollins like, oh, look at this little Rey. Basically just mocking Rey. He's like, wait, where's the one with your eye blacked out? Because after Sunday, or next Sunday, you'll have 2 blacked out. I'm like, they're even pushing us so far into making an Instagram video about this.
No, well, look, that's I'm okay with this, as it's
already shot.
It's working social media. I'm sure it's already shot. I'm sure they've already finished all this disgusting thing out. Again, you've already heard my absolute fury at the stupidity of doing something like this.
So it's like it's another one of those cinematic matches, and they're having CGI for ripping somebody's eyeball out. And...
However, it would make the most sense to me because not only do we also know that Ray is working without a long-term deal, they're still working and getting on that. it would make more sense for him to be a part-timer going forward as need be. So I think, yeah, they're going to find some way to go ahead and pull Ray's eye out, and Seth Rollins will continue. At least that way he can also then turn around and have something happen at SummerSlam. Well, they can let Ray go away and then figure out how to explain how a man who had his eyeball ripped from his fucking head recovers in 3 to 4 months, and it's perfectly fine, and it's just the way it was before, except maybe they give him the old milky Jake Roberts contact to go ahead and play blind, and maybe at SummerSlam we get a blindfold match between the two.
Jesus Christ. Hey, he had quick emergency surgery, Dan. They were able to fix the eye. They put it on ice after the match, for God's sakes.
It's an eye, not an ear.
Sorry,
but regardless.
And I agree. I think, with Mysterio's, contract ending, them not being able to come to terms on anything yet, I'm taking a guess that he'll lose this one. Will he return? I think he's still going to return. But with his son.
I imagine, yeah, I was just saying, what this gives them an opportunity to do is to go all in. Now you completely give Dominic the revenge angle going forward. And whether you do it immediately at SummerSlam or you let it grow over the next month or two, you have plenty of opportunity. You let Dominic just jump him backstage for 4 weeks.
That's what I was just saying. I can see, after Seth wins this, I can see, Ray not being around, but Dominic keeps showing up. You may, for a while, you may just see, Seth doing an interview, and then he'll walk away, and then you see just Dominic's head kind of pop out a little bit.
I would say, or they do that thing where the mysterious assailant keeps jumping Seth Rollins, and we all know that it's Dominic. It just keeps jumping him backstage to the PC, and yeah, there's a lot more potential here. But since you've backed yourself into this stupid ass match, that's the best and only way to get out of it and make everyone do as little damage as possible. God, it's like Vince Russo's booking the fucking show again.
Dan,
This is such good shit.
Sorry. Let's move on to the women's matches.
The challenge tomorrow night will be to see if I take my own fucking eye out during that with a pen or something.
Sorry.
Bro, I got plenty. Hang on. I got plenty of ammo here. I don't need no help. I even got one of these things. I don't even need a pen.
I had a pocket knife here. I don't know what I went to.
Oh, I got one of those around here somewhere too. I forget what drawer it's in.
Let's go to our we'll go with the Raw women's. Sorry, I can't talk. The Raw Women's Championship match: Asuka, the current women's champion, versus the Boss. It's boss time. Shut up, Michael Cole. Asuka versus Sasha Banks. I fucking hate Michael Cole. Every time her music, it's boss time. Shut the hell up.
Please, at the very least, if there's anything redeeming about Corey Graves, that he would tell Cole to shut the hell up in commentary. That'd be like the only time I'd be like, "Yeah, you go, boss. You go, bud."
Exactly. So I don't. Are they gonna have Sasha Banks and Bayley both Raw and Women's SmackDown titles and the tag team titles and both walk around like that? Is that what's gonna happen here? I don't really like Asuka as the champion.
Oh God. Why not?
I don't know. I don't know.
So
Kairi Sane's still around. What's going on with that?
For basically for that match, but she is heading back to Japan.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah, that is maybe not as immediate as initially reported, but yeah, that's in the cards. So
I'm gonna go ahead and say Asuka retains and gets with an assistance from her tag team partner.
There's that. We had that. We definitely had that whole thing, and we also had that whole thing with this past week on Raw with her and Nikki Cross. And there's a possibility of hooking up then with her and Asuka, since it's like apparently there's only 5 women now that can headline any kind of women's match.
Exactly.
However, I think they're going to like the idea of running for a little bit with all the gold on one side. So
you're going Sasha Banks?
I'm going with Sasha Banks to grab that. And then at one point, all the women's gold lies on those 2 shoulders.
All right.
Which I guess gives away my pick for the next match.
So you're picking Bayley to win the next match.
I have Bayley to retain.
As do I. Because I don't think Nikki Cross is where she would need to be a women's champion yet.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I
love happy, crazy Nikki Cross.
Love Nikki Cross. Love Asuka. I
hate Sasha.
How can you hate the boss?
It's boss time.
No, but she's legit. Wasn't that funny?
That was great. It was great because that's one of her slogans. So that was kind of funny.
But I actually think that there could definitely be some possible gold, at least for a couple of weeks, with both of them having one of the titles and the tag titles. Their own little mini 4 horsemen right there, with just the two of them.
I gotcha. I like it. Let's go ahead and go on to our another cinematic match in Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman in the Wyatt Swamp Fight.
Wyatt Swamp Fight. Again, if you haven't gotten a chance to see it, roll up onto WWE's Twitter and check out Bray Wyatt's promo from last night from the Wyatt family compound, because it was amazeballs. So, and because of where we were at from Money in the Bank, I finally remembered they did. Their first match was Money in the Bank, and this will be the second one. And
this is not for the title, so
this is a non-title match, which sort of gives it away. So, but I believe that we're working our way through the 3 faces of Wyatt. So you had Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt lose to Strowman back at Money in the Bank, and now Waylon Mercy Wyatt in this swamp fight finds a way to, on his home ground, defeat the monster, to try to kill the monster he created.
Exactly.
As he says. Leading to an actual title match at SummerSlam.
With The Fiend. Now that one's a whole other thing. Like that 3-match series, who's going to come on top is something else we'll have to watch for and everything. But Bray Wyatt takes match number 2, forcing the rubber match at SummerSlam. I have the exact same thing. Let's see here. The next one, WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre, current WWE champion.
Before we go to the main event, you're also skipping the match that I guess was made official last night. That will happen.
I didn't have it on my list.
The New Day, because it was last night. I set the sheet out before the show. As the New Day will defend the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championship of the World against the makeshift but yet quickly interesting team of Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. Cesaro winning a match last night to pick the stipulation, and it officially will be a tables match for the Tag Team Championship.
All right, let's see. So it's versus Cesaro and Shinsuke?
Cesaro and Shinsuke against the New Day for the tag straps. And
so, all right. SmackDown Tag Team Championships, New Day versus Cesaro and Shitstain Nakamura. I don't like him. I'm going to go ahead and say the New Day retains. I upset you.
The new team has been so hot.
They're gonna work it a little more before they actually give them the rub.
It's hard to argue with that. It really is. I think I'm gonna go with you as well. Have them retaining. It just seems too gimmicked up for us right now. Now you can go ahead with the real main event announcements.
The main event: Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler. Because Dolph Ziggler, he's picking the stipulation. We have no clue what it is, TLC match. We have no idea what it could be.
No idea that he's going to pick a TLC match tomorrow night.
Because it was leaked.
because it was leaked. We didn't talk about that much, did we?
We didn't.
A Facebook ad essentially leaked it as a TLC match. Now, of course, with that being public, they could always change it. Since I believe the pay-per-view itself will be live, outside of obviously the cinematic matches. So outside of those there's two, possibly three matches. Everything else will be live tomorrow night. So there's time for them to change that stipulation. But working off the fact that it'll be a TLC match, because they had the finish of the Great American Bash main event. And they didn't bother changing it then.
It's true. They had plenty of time to refilm that.
Plenty of time to refilm it or use the second ending they may have filmed, and figured now let's go with Keith Lee.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with Drew McIntyre. I don't think he's dropping it to Dolph.
Once again, unfortunately, Dolph Ziggler gets put in the position to be just strong enough to deserve a title shot, but then never actually be able to go ahead and overcome the big face. So, well, basically, this whole thing is going to boil down to the Raw Women's title match.
Exactly.
So, it'll be interesting. It will be another interesting thing. Now, as we talked about a little bit last week, you retained at Fyter Fest, not a draw, retained, so that gets reset to 0. Remember, as we decided, the executive committee, championship committee, decided 3 straight draws or ties would vacate the belt. So you're back to the 0 count on that one. And that is where we stand going into things.
Right there. And I'll have that on my shoulder as we start the match stream next week, or tomorrow. Not next week, tomorrow. And I'll probably next week, too, because I'll retain it. So.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll retain it, and you'll lose once again because you suck.
From the one match where I booked differently in my brain. Because, apparently I am just that out of tune with Bruce Pritchard that...
I mean, you're probably right. She's probably going to win it, but we'll see.
But again, the problem my problem is that I do not pick what I think WWE will do. I pick what would make the most sense from a booking standpoint, which is why I keep getting destroyed in these WWE matches, because shit doesn't make sense.
Exactly. All right, so those are our prescriptions. Jesus Christ, our predictions. I can't talk today. Shit! I fucked up my camera.
Gotta go get the pills.
Oh shit! I fucked up my camera.
Good
God damn it! I will fix it. That works.
All right. I'll fix this when we do it. I'll fix it when we actually do the show.
All right. Cool. Oh, we getting ready to start it? All right. Make sure you check back with us next week. Or actually, no, not next week.
No,
tomorrow.
Don't. Yeah, just say check back with us about. Let's tentatively let's about 6:45. We'll be kind of roaming around the area, getting things set up to go. You can follow us live on the WWE Network as long as you're watching the horror show at Extreme Rules live with us. We will be underway with live reactions at 7 o'clock, going until they have 8 matches, so we might actually go past 10 o'clock this Sunday night. So yeah, we could stay up late.
Wait, 8 matches? Isn't it 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
8, unless one gets bumped for the bar fight, or the bar fight just doesn't happen. One of the two.
Could be. What's going to go on the pre-show?
That's the thing. If the bar fight happens, the U.S. title goes to the pre-show. So.
That's stupid.
Anyway, be back here on Facebook Live. It is a Facebook exclusive, so hammer that follow button on Facebook Live so you'll know exactly when we get going. This part will not end up on all the other many platforms that you will get the Finisher podcast, like Spreaker, like Spotify, like the free iHeartRadio app, and all the other better podcasting outlets, I believe.
And like I always said, if you want to find out where we're at, just go check out thefinisherpodcast.com.
Anything else or anybody else we got to plug here? I forget.
I got nothing, man.
I think we got everybody.
I think we're good. If you're a fan of comics, go check out Comic Chaos. 2 great guys who know what they're talking about with comic books.
One.
He said it. The bearded one said it, not me. Not me.
Jim's great. I know what you're talking about.
I like my steaks. Anyway, make sure you go check them out. Comic Chaos. Look for them on Facebook and on the iHeartRadio app as well.
And since I did a little bit ago, I guess I could do it again as well. If music is more your liking on top of that, go ahead and check us out at fairlykickass.com, where we do not only a bi-weekly pod, or a bi-monthly, sorry. Not twice a week. Oh my God. Good Lord. No, that'd be more work than I really want to think about. Bi-monthly podcast giving you the best of all the new stuff coming out. Album reviews, song reviews, making fun of pop music, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're live every other Thursday night on there at fairlykickass.com, and also on also on the free iHeartRadio app and all the many podcast outlets to go over there as well. And I think that's about it.
Is that it?
Maybe.
All right. So like I said, make sure you come back here. Be here next or tomorrow around 6:45, close to 7 o'clock, for our live stream of the horror show Extreme Rules, because it will be.
This is such good shit.
And we know it. So see with us tomorrow, and we'll talk to you guys then. Have a good one. I didn't hear you.
Did you say the horror show?
Yeah, I think I did.